Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and I'm bringing you another questionnaire. I'm getting back into the rhythm of some things, guys. You know, I've already made like a Qaaman Talks explaining to you guys, over the last 2 months that I've been going through a lot of personal things. But I'm back today, and I'm going to be doing, as I did previously, a new type of Q&A style where I'm going to be doing half of the Q&A answering Twitter questions, and then I'm going to be doing the other half of this Q&A going back to the classic Ask FM. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. So, the first question from Savage Drod says, do you want Goten to have the same potential that Gohan did as a child? Well, this is a good question, the Savage Drod, because I've actually expressed this before with Blackenfist, and we did a video a long time ago, but we just didn't think it was good enough for YouTube. We might revisit it, but I actually think Goten has more potential than Gohan for several reasons, because if you consider the fact that Goten was as strong as what he was, and okay, let me put this in a better phrase. Goten trained with Chi-Chi and Trunks, who's also an inexperienced fighter. Now, although Trunks was very strong himself, the anime implies more that Trunks trained with Vegeta, even though the manga didn't really explain it as much, but it's also implied considering they were in the same gravity chamber. And, Goten also trained with Trunks, so Goten is training with an inexperienced young Trunks and Chi-Chi, and he's almost as strong as what Trunks was, whereas Trunks was arguably training with Vegeta, a significantly stronger training partner. And when you look at that, I made a whole video on this called, who's naturally stronger between Goten and Trunks, and it kind of brings me back to this because I think that when you look at Gohan, even as a toddler, he was stronger than his dad and Piccolo when he was really angry. But, I mean, he couldn't do a lot of the things that Goten could do, at that age. And Gohan was 4. When Gohan was 7, he wasn't close to what Goten was. And, there's a lot of other factors, training with a much weaker person. So, I've always felt that Goten had more potential than Gohan. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. The whole thing about hidden power versus natural power is a big, whole debate. But, great question, the Savage Drod. Okay, Nitro says, Goten technically agreed, but he had more potential to go. Okay, I guess they're just talking to each other. How strong is Hirudegarn? That's a good question. Well, he knocked out, okay, first of all, I wanted to say this. If you look at Wrath of the Dragon, that movie literally takes place right after, or it's implied to have taken place right after the defeat of Buu, even though there are a little bit of inconsistencies, but basically taking place after the Buu saga, I can't see Gohan declining that much in power. And I also can't see, Goku being that much stronger than Gohan, if not at all. Because Goku was weaker than Gohan based off of a myriad of reasons that I've explained 100 times with Dragon Ball Nation. So, I would have to say that, Hirudegarn would have to be stronger than at least minimum Super Buu. Maybe Buuhan may have been a bit too strong, but Goku defeated Hirudegarn by basically outsmarting him and finding out his weak points. Goku didn't beat Hirudegarn by being stronger than him because at that point, according to what Dragon Ball Nation, was doing the power scaling, and I agree with him, Goku could not have been stronger, if not any much stronger than Gohan or Gotenks, and they were wiped out easily. So I'm gonna have to say he's above Super Buu, but definitely probably weaker than Buuhan. Good question, Future Saiyan. Alright, Matthew Noversal wants to know, what if Vegeta turned Super Saiyan 2 after Cell killed future Trunks? I've actually answered this before. I don't think that Vegeta would have won. Maybe, okay, if you're saying Vegeta fights alongside Gohan, yeah, they could easily take Cell with the two of them, but if you go by the manga, and if you look at the Japanese translation of that whole fight that took place between Gohan and Cell, it was heavily implied in the manga, and it was somewhat openly stated in the anime that Gohan was weaker than Cell, because Gohan said in the Japanese version when Cell came back, oh, Cell's become back stronger than me. And if you look at the manga, after Cell hurt Gohan, he said enough playing around, which is implying he didn't put that much energy into the blast, and Gohan was extremely wounded for a blast that was intended to kill Vegeta. So I'm not saying that Cell is stronger, but by going by the I guess you would say the Funimation dub, which most of you are probably familiar with, but if you look at the Japanese and if you look at the manga, which are what the show was originally based on, I would have to say it's arguable that Super Perfect Cell is still stronger than Gohan, or at least close to his power. So if Super Perfect Cell and Gohan are around the same, or if Super Perfect Cell is stronger and Vegeta's weaker than Gohan, then that means Vegeta would be weaker than Cell. It kind of, this is actually a good discussion, and I'll take note of this because it kind of reminds me of that whole debate, what if Vegeta went Super Saiyan, you know, against Frieza? I'd say he'd lose because Vegeta was significantly weaker than Goku. Goku was holding his own with Frieza, and Frieza was putting significantly more effort against Goku, whereas against Vegeta, he was toying with him the whole time, and Vegeta couldn't even get a hit on him. So I'm gonna have to say that Vegeta would not have beaten Cell. How strong is Buff Buu compared to the other forms? This is a very good question, Rob Million. And the reason why I say this is because Buff Boo's weird, because when I was younger and when I was first reading the manga, I was confused because I used to think Kid Buu was stronger than regular Super Buu. And the reason why was because when Kid Buu was transforming, Goku said, why is his power level increasing instead of decreasing? And by saying that, he's implying that Kid Buu is stronger than the previous form. So I felt that Kid Buu would have been stronger. But then now I'm looking back on it, you know, I looked back on the scene and he was referring to that when he was in his Buff Buu state. So it's kind of where like Kid Buu had an increase in power and then he shrunk because afterwards, you know, Goku was like, oh, well, we can take him now. Like Vegeta and Goku were confident, whereas with Super Buu, Goku said they didn't stand a chance. So they wouldn't have been so scared if they didn't think they stood a chance. That's my implication, because they could obviously sense power. Now, obviously, they underestimated Kid Buu, because Kid Buu put up a much better fight than they expected on the Supreme Kai planet. But I would definitely have to say that, you know, Buff Buu would probably be stronger by my more modern interpretation. Alright, the Simple Gamer wants to know, how would Goku's character change if Goku killed the bad guy immediately? For example, snapping Frieza's neck when he turned Super Saiyan. Well, I don't know what you mean by Goku's character, but I mean, Goku is not that type of guy to just kill people. He kind of wants to drag on a fight usually to test, you know, his opponent's true abilities. He's not like a Future Trunks. Like, for example, Future Trunks came to Earth. In the manga, it was even faster than the anime. Future Trunks basically came to Earth and just, like, wiped out Frieza and King Cole, like, right there. Like, the anime, like, dragged it on longer. But the point is that, you know, certain characters like Piccolo, Future Trunks, Piccolo dragged on his fight with Frieza for a different reason, because he wanted Frieza to use up his energy before Piccolo took off his weighted clothing to get the real edge. That was the whole purpose of why he did that, even though it was never said. It was an obvious interpretation. So when you look at a lot of these characters that that drag on fights or like postpone it, I think it's just all writing. If Goku did that, he really wouldn't be Goku. Now, although Toriyama kind of has had a problem with the interpretation of how Goku has looked in the anime, as they've tried to make him an even better guy than what he was, when in fact he was selfish in many ways in terms of fighting, and Toriyama even said this. So, you know, I don't think it would change his character, but it would definitely change the way we perceive him. Alright, let's see. Do you think Goten and Trunks could attain Super Saiyan God? This is a good question. I mean, there's nothing that said they can't, from what I remember. If anybody remembers hearing something that I'm missing right now, please remind me, because I don't remember it ever being clearly cut and stated that a half Saiyan can't become a Super Saiyan God. So I'm gonna have to say, I think it's possible, but I would think they would just need the God energy. I mean, theoretically, when you think about it from a biological standpoint, a half Saiyan is just basically a Saiyan with less DNA. So, is there a certain amount of DNA required to do it? I've always been a believer that if Gohan, Goten, Trunks, or even, you know, Pan or Bulma, if they had tails, they might theoretically be able to go into a Super Saiyan 4, because there was never anything that stated that a half Saiyan can't do it. So, I don't know. I think it's possible. Maybe it's not, but I just don't think there's enough information to give you a clear-cut answer, but I definitely think it's possible. And they might even explore that. Alright, good question, the Simple Gamer. Now, Tyler Went wants to know, what if Piccolo had died when Frieza blasted a hole through him? That's actually a video topic that I have planned. Devanshu Gupta, where has Blackenfist been so busy off of late? I don't know. I've been extremely busy myself. You know, I've already explained all the myriad of personal circumstances that I've gone through over the last few months, but, you know, I guess he's busy too. What's your favorite anime you've seen so far? Well, I'm always going to say the first two things. Dragon Ball, Yu Yu Hakusho, probably Case Closed. I like Naruto. I just fell out of it because I just got behind too much. So Case Closed, Dragon Ball, and Case Closed, Dragon Ball, and Yu Yu Hakusho are probably like my top 3. I'm gonna have to put in a show called Elfen Lied. I don't know if you guys really know about that one. It was a brief anime, but it was really well written. And I'd also say I like Bleach. I haven't seen the whole thing, but from what I've seen, Bleach has been pretty good so far. So, but I can't put Bleach in there because I haven't seen the entire series. So if I had to put in one more, I would have to say this is very generic. But I'm probably gonna go with Inuyasha because I've basically seen the entire series. I liked the way it was, and I felt that the character development was very interesting, how like they're going back in time and like interacting with these characters. So I definitely loved Inuyasha. So those would probably be my top 5 animes off the top of my head, but the others might change, but Yu Yu Hakusho and Dragon Ball are always going to be number 1. Alright, do you have a cool Dragon Ball Z room? If so, would you ever do a tour? I don't really have, in my house in the US, I don't really have much Dragon Ball stuff. I mean, I have like a few posters and like the entire manga collection, and that's basically it. I mean, I really don't have much Dragon Ball stuff. Super Jaiyan, Uncanny Megan, even Geekdom 101 have much better Dragon Ball collections than I do, so I'm gonna have to give those two, especially Super Jaiyan and Uncanny Megan. I mean, I've seen Geekdoms, and he has a pretty good collection, but like Uncanny Megan and Super Jaiyan, like their Dragon Ball stuff is like off the charts. Oh yeah, and shout out to Jax Blade too. Jax Blade has an enormous Dragon Ball collection. So Super Jaiyan, Jax Blade, and Uncanny Megan have by far the 3 biggest Dragon Ball collections I've seen. I haven't seen anybody who can compete with those 3. Alright, let's see here. What did you think of the Fall of Men? I don't know what the Fall of Men is. I don't want to sound like I'm a hypocrite, but I really don't know what you're talking about here. Thoughts on Steph Curry's play as of late? He just finished a 46-point game. He is on fire on his play. I've seen a little bit of League Pass. I've been so busy, I haven't been able to keep up as much, but I do play fantasy basketball. Next year, I'm planning on playing fantasy basketball with my fans. Things just happened so fast. It just was hard to do, but you know, Steph Curry, I'd say that he's probably the leading MVP candidate right now. I don't really know anybody else who could compete with him. I mean, James Harden's been playing really well. Russell Westbrook's been carrying a big load with Durant being injured once again. And, you know, the Thunder basically have 2 guys who are averaging like 30 points a game. So, I mean, I don't think, honestly, I don't think Westbrook or Durant can win it because when you have 2 guys, and this happened in 2011 with the Heat, one of the main reasons why Derrick Rose won the MVP, and I think he had a great year, but the whole reason was because you can make an argument that 2 of the best players in the league were on the same team. You have 2 top 5 players in Wade and LeBron on the same roster with another top 15, top 20 player in Chris Bosh. And, you know, that's what kind of underrated LeBron and Wade's value because they're basically taking away votes from each other, whereas Rose was a more clear-cut option. So, I mean, I would have to say that Steph is the leading MVP right now. LeBron's always going to be up there. And, you know, this year's been really interesting for basketball. I feel like this year is not predictable. You know, it's going in a lot of different directions that a lot of people wouldn't say. So, yeah, good question, Nitro. All right, let's see. I'm going to take 2 more questions here. Theoretically, do you think if Planet Vegeta was revived, do you think Vegeta would return to rule with Trunks and Bulma? That's a good question. No, I don't think so because, I mean, if you look at the way Vegeta has been, he's been pretty domestic. I mean, he seems like he really enjoys the way Earth is. It doesn't seem like he has much inspiration. And he wanted to rule Planet Vegeta, but I just can't see Vegeta just going back to that with a wife and a kid. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it would fit him, you know? I don't know. It seemed to me like, especially after the Buu saga, when he tried to stop, you know, Fat Buu, it seemed like Vegeta was pretty much ingrained with Earth, so I would say he probably wouldn't do that. And to close this out, by Mario Fanboy 15, I think my what if's a bit more complicated than you might think at first. Hold on. Let me go down here. What if Tien killed Kami in the 23rd martial arts tournament like Kami asked him to? That's a good question. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, if Tien did kill him, that would change a lot of things. I mean, man, that's gonna change the whole Dragon Ball series with Piccolo and everything along those lines. So, man, that's a good topic. I mean, that's a very, very good topic. If they did kill him, that basically changes the entire Dragon Ball series, especially Dragon Ball Z. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to probably say that, man, I can't think of that right now off the top of my head. I'm gonna have to go plan, write an outline, and all of that stuff. But I'd say that's a great topic. I mean, yeah, that changes every aspect of the entire series. But it could be but I'm telling you guys right now, if I ever do the topic, for those of you who are watching this extended Q&A, it's going to end with a negative result. I know that for sure because of Raditz and everything, if that even happens. So, yeah, I'm going to have to say it's going to be a negative outcome for sure without me even analyzing the video, but that's a great topic. So, this concludes my Twitter portion of this Q&A. I'm going to be right back in just a second to do my Ask FM portion. Alright, so I am back. I don't know if it's showing on the screen right now, but I have 22,572 questions on Ask FM. So I'm going to start with the top today, as of last time I did a lot of the older questions, so I like spicing it up. So let's take it. The question of the day is, what is the weirdest scar you have and how did you get it? That's a good question. Do I have a scar? Well, I have a scar on my chest because when I was a kid, I was kind of rough playing with one of my friends. Guys, don't make a stupid joke. I know what you're gonna interpret it when I say rough playing. I was playing outside, playing basketball, and things got a little bit heated. And one of my friends pushed me against my mailbox, and my mailbox, like the tip of it, like scratched like a line throughout my chest. It wasn't like a big thing where like my blood was like gushing. I was cut a little bit. If he pushed me with harder force, it probably could have like hurt me a lot more. And you know, that's probably the only scar I really have. Even as I've gotten older, that little scar has still stayed on my chest. It's never gone away, but most people don't see it unless you see my shirt off. So that's probably the weirdest scar I have, and that's how I got it. Po from Kung Fu Panda versus Kid Goku before Tao. Oh, come on, man. I'm gonna probably have to go with Kid Goku. I mean, I don't really know Kung Fu Panda that well. I saw it years ago. I don't remember the plot as well, but I'm probably going to have to say Kid Goku. If anybody else disagrees with me, let me know. I know you keep talking about it, but Chaozu is so easier to say and type than his English name. I don't know why they made it harder to say and spell for the Funimation dub. Yeah, you're right, because it's Chaozu instead of Chaozu. I agree, Chaozu is actually it's much easier to say Chaozu than Chaozu. But anyways, yeah, that's a good point, HCL. Who fails more, Chaozu, Japanese name, it's easier to say, or Yamcha? Come on. Chaozu, whatever the hell you want to say. Chaozu, he was, I guess, an even more minor character, because at least Yamcha tried to fight the Cell Juniors, you know, when that arc came around. Chaozu was nowhere to be found. Alright, oh my god, watch this. Sorry, I have to answer other people's questions, but I'll open it up, you know, in an alternate link right there. And let's see. If you could eat anything, it wouldn't kill you, what would it be? That's weird. I mean, I don't think I would want to eat anything that wouldn't kill. I mean, what would I want to taste that? Okay, this sounds weird, but I've always wanted to know if I like tasted a cloud, what would that taste like? Like, I don't know. I know it's weird, but you know, if I like licked a cloud or something, I know it's just, you know, chemicals in the air, but I've always wondered like what a cloud tastes like. If it wouldn't kill me, I wouldn't mind taking a lick. I know it sounds weird saying I'd lick a cloud, but I mean, you asked the question, right? Alright, how could future Trunks cut through Frieza with his sword? Dragon Ball Z characters hurt each other using their own power, but a simple sword was none. Did he extend his aura to the sword? Why would he do that if all that would do is introduce a mitigating factor to Trunks' own power? I mean, I don't look at this the same way as you. I mean, I see what you're saying, like how like a sword has more physical limitations than a Dragon Ball Z character, like meaning, like you're basically saying a sword can only hurt so much. I think that's what you're trying to imply, but the way I think Dragon Ball Z kind of does is it kind of bypasses all of this, whereas like a character can put his own force into the sword to basically make it even harder, which is kind of weird because if you look at Trunks, and I talked to, I think it was Mike or Josh about this. It was either Mike or Josh, but it was kind of weird when, if you look at the history of Trunks, when like Trunks tried to slash Android 18, you know, with his sword, like it like basically broke. And that was really weird because like 18, you know, she just like blocked it, but like when he punched her, like she was actually sent flying back. So it's weird like how like you could block a sword, but you can't block like you could get hit by a punch. But then again, later on when he punched her in the face, it didn't do anything. So I don't know, it's all inconsistent, guys. I just say this: he killed Frieza with the sword because it made it easier, but I still think with his own power, Trunks could have easily taken out Frieza anyways. So it really doesn't matter. Well, actually, to go back to that question really quick, the power pole is also another good one because, I mean, Goku's like hurt people significantly harder with that power pole. If you or me swung a power pole at somebody, it wouldn't hurt as much as Goku doing it. So that's a good question. Alright, do you think the mythos behind the Super Namekian was wasted? Since Dragon Ball, Goku, and Piccolo were fairly even in power, I think they should have kept it that way. It would have been very interesting, dynamic, and added more to the story. Your thoughts? Well, obviously, I've said before at least 100 million times, Piccolo's my favorite character. Of course, I personally would have liked it more. And I think it would have made other characters more relevant because, honestly, the way I look at the Dragon Ball series was all about the Z Warriors before they became the Z Warriors. But I just call them the Z Warriors because that's what they are. It was about the Z Warriors, or like Goku's gang. And if you look at, you know, Dragon Ball Z, it kind of became about the Saiyans. I mean, Piccolo was relevant up until the Cell Saga, and then after the Cell Saga, he was irrelevant. And then, well, at least in terms of fighting power, you know, because, I mean, yeah, he trained Goten and Trunks, and he stalled Super Buu. Ultimately, Goten screwed around, and, you know, it really didn't help in the efforts anyways. But, you know, Piccolo wasn't that powerful in the Buu Saga, and if you look at GT, it was basically all about Goku and Vegeta. I mean, and that's why I call it Dragon Ball Goku's time, because literally Vegeta had a role only because of the fact that, number one, he was used as a villain, so by default Vegeta was a major character in GT simply because of the fact that his body was technically a villain for an entire arc. Even though it wasn't him, it was technically Vegeta who was being used, so I have to put Vegeta as being a major character. And I also have to say that if you look at, you know, the Super Saiyan 4 fusing into Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, which was silly because Vegeta didn't do jack shit, you know, during the Shadow Dragon arc. He was taking a shower, which was stupid. And if you look at the two sagas in the middle, what did I forget? The Super 17 arc and the Black Star Dragon Ball arc. He wasn't there for the Black Star Dragon Ball arc. And for the Super 17 arc, I mean, he tried to fight him. He stalled Super 17 until Goku got there. I mean, a little bit, so I give him credit for that. So really, I'm going to have to say anything that involves more characters makes the show better. I hate it when people just focus on one or two characters. That's why The Walking Dead is my favorite, like, live action TV show, because Rick, Michonne, Daryl, Carl, I mean, Carol, you know, Tyrese when he was alive, I mean, Bob, you know, Sasha, Abraham, all of these characters have a role. Yeah, Rick is the main guy, and Carl is probably the one afterwards, and people love Daryl, but like every character has their role, and every character impacts the show. And I felt it has such a rich cast. The same thing for Breaking Bad, you know, it's not just about Walter White. Hank has a big role, Jesse has a big role, Skyler has a big role, all of the villains were great. I mean, I love shows when characters, even the non-major characters, have something to do with the series. That's what makes it rich, in my opinion. So yeah, that's basically my whole spiel on how I feel about all these characters. What final words have you put in your headstone? What final words you have put on your headstone, if you could have anything? My headstone? Are you talking about if I died? I mean, I don't know. Qaaman, the YouTuber, you know. I'm sorry, man. Listen, man, I'm in my early 20s. I've given many hints about my age, guys. I'm in my early 20s, guys. I'm not thinking about dying right now. I'm sorry. If you want me to die, you know, like some trolls have told me because I haven't uploaded much over the last few months, You know, yes, guys, I have gotten some death threats. Some people said I'm gonna kill you if you don't upload. I know, it's the most bizarre thing. You know, I was going through some personal things, but yeah, man, I'm not thinking about ending my life. You know, as of right now, I'm quite content with my life. Even though I've gone through some things, I'm pretty happy with my life, and I'm pretty young. I mean, I'm not probably thinking about death for like another 50 to 60, 70 years. So, I mean, if I live a natural lifespan. So yeah, I'm not thinking about death right now, sorry. Qaaman, a great person. That's all I'll say. Pancakes versus Waffles. If you said Pancakes, your opinion is wrong. Honestly, I agree with you, Super Saiyan Shinigami, because I actually do like Waffles more. I mean, I feel like, you know, you can put the little syrup and it fits better on it. It doesn't just roll off like it does Pancakes. I don't know, like, I kind of like that crunchier taste that Waffles have. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go with Waffles. I like Waffles over Pancakes, but Pancakes are still pretty good. I don't mind eating Pancakes. What's your favorite Gohan, Goku, Vegeta? What's your favorite Gohan, Goku, and Vegeta? Who's my favorite between those three? Oh, I think you're asking my favorite form of all of them. I like Saiyan Gohan, 23rd Budokai Tenkaichi Goku, and Namek Saga Vegeta. Good question. Okay, Gohan, easy answer. Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan is actually my favorite character in the entire show. I like him even more than Piccolo, even though he basically got Goku killed. He was like, the way like he just attacked those Cell Juniors was the highlight of the entire series for me. For Goku, man, I do like the design of Super Saiyan 4 over all of the other forms, but I mean, I don't know, GT did some things that I didn't really agree with, so I'm not going to use that. I'd probably have to say, man, this is a really good question. I would have to say probably Goku, when he was on Namek, was probably my favorite Goku, because I mean, just like, I know that the Funimation dub did this a lot more than, you know, the Japanese dub, and Geekdom doesn't like this, but I do think it added a very comic book hero-esque feel to Goku, when he's saying, like, I am the light in the darkness, I am the sworn protector of the universe, I'm Goku, and I'm a super... That whole speech he gave Frieza, I would say that that's probably like especially for like watching it as a kid, like that was so awesome. Like, although that was changed a lot in the Japanese, you know, dub, you know, I'm sorry, it was different in the Japanese dub, but it's changed for the Funimation dub. I should say that. I'm sorry, Geekdom. I'm sorry, Super Jane. Don't kill me. You too, Hail Zeon. But I just kind of liked that whole element of him. He turned Super Saiyan for the first time. He's like so serious. Like, he's like fighting out of rage because Krillin dies, you know, like fighting with like, he just looks so cool, like his ripped up clothes, like he looked like he was a badass, like just all those cuts on his face and everything, and he's still just like going, man. And like the thing that I've always admired about Namek Goku is the fact that, you know, a lot of people haven't really talked about Goku's durability during that fight. I mean, you gotta remember this, guys. It's not like Goku took a senzu bean. Goku was nearly crippled after launching that spirit bomb, remember? I mean, Goku could barely walk. He needed, you know, Krillin, Gohan, and Piccolo to, like, carry him after it. He was, like, completely exhausted, you know? And then Frieza comes back, kills Krillin, almost kills Gohan, severely injures Piccolo. And then he turns Super Saiyan, and he's, like, forced to fight this guy even more. Even after Frieza knocked him out for a little bit, exaggerated significantly more in the anime than the manga. Goku never died, and I've explained 100 times why. You know, Goku came back up, and like he's just like fighting him, and he's like, man, like this guy literally has had no breaks, and like now he's being sent to like this planet far, far away on Yardrat, and he's basically still on his own 2 feet. That just gave me a lot of respect for Goku. For Vegeta, I think that's a good question. I would probably have said Majin Vegeta, because I kind of like Vegeta like being evil again with like all those superpowers. Like, it's like, wow, like Vegeta's now the bad guy after like we've been shown all these sagas for him to like become this good guy. But I'm not gonna go with that. I would say my favorite Vegeta would be when he first became a Super Saiyan against 19 and 18, and like he's like basically just like so cool in like everything he does. Like, he's so confident, he feels like he's gotten his pride back, he defeats 19, And then like afterwards, when it comes to 18, like, you know, he literally just like got his ass kicked. And it's so funny because like at that point, like prior to Goku losing and Trunks talking about, you know, the future, we'd never seen like a, you know, when Goku was, you know, struggling against 19 because of the heart virus, we had never seen a Super Saiyan, you know, lose a major fight. And like that was like, so like you felt the passion in Vegeta when he lost. And it's like, it really like garnered a lot of respect for him, the fact that, you know, this guy becomes a Super Saiyan and he basically, you know, had his pride shaken up, and he changed because of it. He didn't just stay, oh, I could do anything, you know. He's like, you know what, I got my ass kicked, I need to go to the hyperbolic time chamber and beat these androids plus Cell. And that's the best thing I ever saw about Vegeta. It was just like the transition in his character, like he finally amended himself. And also he made some amends not too long after when he like tried to you know go off against Cell with those, you know, energy blasts because Trunks was killed. So those are basically my favorite moments from all of these character guys. You know, I'm basically going to just, you know, edit this, you know, cut it off into a bit. I'm gonna start liking, I like doing like these splits between both, you know, Twitter and Ask FM, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm trying to get back in the groove of doing my videos. So most importantly, over everything else, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.